The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on Tom's Radio Toronto are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of Tom's Radio Toronto or its staff. These broadcasts are presented and made public as entertainment and general information only, in the hope that they will be entertaining and informative to listeners. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate in any way any disease.
Well, I'm back, your friend Ramon Datol, and this is your news. At for top of the story right now, well, 62 new wildfires, 29,000 lightning strikes reported in 24 hours in BC, British Columbia. State of emergency possible this summer, with dozens of wildfires reported in the last 24 hours alone. A state of emergency may be declared in British Columbia this summer. When asked if it was possible, just over 13 hours after months-long state of emergency related to the COVID-19 pandemic was called off in the province, Public Safety Minister Solicitor General Mike Farnworth said, "Absolutely. While the situation is being monitored," Farnworth said a state of emergency, which grants the province additional powers, may be required this summer. BC's longest wildfire-related state of emergency was in 2017. It lasted 10 weeks, though the just called up COVID-19 state was placed for 67 weeks. 62 wildfires and 29,000 lightning strikes have been reported in just 24 hours. At the last-minute news conference hosted by Farnworth in Vancouver and BC Premier John Hogan in Victoria, the minister addressed wildfires currently burning across the province and a separate fire tearing through the village of Litan. The fire has destroyed most homes and buildings, he said. Several residents are still unaccounted for. The cause of that fire is still under investigation, but it is not considered a wildfire. Hogan said he spoke to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau yesterday morning, during which Ottawa promised to help the residents of the village. Additionally, federal and provincial support is being promised to those impacted by what may be challenging wildfire season, with more dry heat in the forecast. Hogan said he's also asked for more firefighting resources from across the country, which may include members of the Canadian Armed Forces. Wow! 29,000 lightnings? Scary. But yung pong mga kababayan natin dyan sa Canada, particular na po dyan sa Lytton area, na there are only some 400 people, or 460 to 500 people living in that small village, now totally destroyed by fire. Well, I hope the government declared an early state of calamity or emergency in Vancouver. Or rather, not only Vancouver, but the whole British Columbia affected by that heat wave and raging fire, wildfire. And what happened in Lytton? Oh, wow. Well, a double dose Trudeau says Canada set to fully vaccinate all eligible by the end of summer. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says that Canada is on track to have everyone who is eligible fully vaccinated against COVID-19 by the end of the summer, noting that until around 80% of people are completely immunized, the country will still be at risk for new drugs or surges, While the federal government's target throughout the vaccine rollout campaign was to fully vaccinate all eligible Canadians by the end of September, following a tour of an Ottawa mass vaccination clinic and its second dose appointments, Trudeau said the country is on track to exceed that timeline. The federal government is expecting to have a cumulative total of 68 million vaccine doses delivered by the end of July. That's mathematically enough for everyone in Canada to get 2 doses, but we know, for example, that the spacing between the doses means that people who get their first dose now or a few days ago won't be eligible until later in the summer for their second dose, and we need to continue to follow the science, Trudeau said. So far, more than 77% of eligible Canadians have received their first dose, and more than 36% of the eligible population has been vaccinated, according to the latest data in CTV News Vaccine Tracker. Well, the way people are stepping up on getting vaccinated has been extraordinary and inspiring. I look forward to seeing all Canadians vaccinated as quickly as possible so we can get back to living as normal as possible in a global pandemic, he said. Today, or this morning, Friday, the Prime Minister said that while Canada is on the right track to end this pandemic, he cited the Yukon's current spike in new infections as a cautionary tale. Right? National modeling released a week ago indicated that while there has been a sustained national decline in COVID-19 spread across the country, the threat of the Delta variant continues to pose a real risk, and so sustained control efforts will be needed in order to avoid the resurgence until vaccination coverage is high across the population. Well, magandang balita po yun, ano? Kung pagkatapos ng summer, September po natatapos ang summer. Actually, September 21 eh. Tapos ang summer, pasok ang fall. So, papunta na rin 77% na po. And it is now July 2. And happy birthday nga pala, July 2, Naknan Dragon. Muntik ko nang makakalimutan, birthday ng ating dating First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos. Ayan, happy birthday po, Ninang. Happy birthday, Tita Meldy. Ayan. Maring Sendang, batiin mo na yung kumaring fan mo. Birthday, dating First Lady yan. Anyways, pagkapatuloy po ng ating balitaan sa Australia naman, mataas na naman ang COVID pandemic infection doon, down under, ika nga, no? Australia further tightens border to curb COVID. Deadline Sydney, Australia, July 3, Australia announced a dramatic cut in the number of people who will be allowed to enter the country today